Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I am glad to present you this project. It's a granny square top. Lately I've been seeing so many granny square projects that are so amazing, so I just decided to jump onto this trend and I decided to create one unique creation using my granny squares. So if you know how to make the granny squares, well and good. If you don't know, I'm going to walk you through it. I already have a video of how to make granny squares in detail, so I'll be leaving the link on the screen if you would like to walk through the process in detail. But let's begin and see how to make this top. So for the materials, you'll need any yarn. I'm using a fingering weight yarn and I'm going to be using 2 colors, but you can go ahead and use whatever number of colors that you want for your top. You can go as many as 7 colors or 3 colors or 4 colors, that's up to you. You also need a measuring tape. This is going to measure the full bust measurement, so you need to just know your full bust measurement. For me, I'm going to consider 32, which is a size small, 32 inches. Then you also need a pair of scissors. The hook that I'm going to use is a 3.25mm crochet hook, but you can go ahead and use whatever hook that you have or whatever hook that's recommended for the yarn that you're going to use. Then you also need a darning needle to weave in your ends. More about the yarn, you can use mercerized cotton yarn. That's the yarn that I would recommend for you to use. I didn't use this because I already had my granny squares finished and they were worked with this yarn. This is Robin. It's 100% acrylic and it's a fingering weight yarn, but you can go ahead and use whatever yarn that you want, because the instructions are just going to be general. They're going to give you a good fitting for your top as long as you follow them to the dot. So let's begin. So you're going to grab your first color. For me, that is going to be nude brown, and you're going to make a magic ring. After making your magic ring or magic circle, you're going to chain 3 and place 2 more double crochets into the same magic circle. This is 1 and 2. So counting the chain 3 as one of our stitches, so far we have 3 stitches. So you're going to chain 2 and go into the same magic ring and place a total of 3 double crochets. You're going to chain 2, 3 more double crochets into the same magic circle, chain 2 and 3 double crochets into the same magic circle. So at this point you have a total of 1, 2, 3 and 4 clusters of 3 double crochets. So you're going to pull on this tail of your magic circle and close up your ring. Then you're going to chain 2 and go on top of the chain 3, the first chain 3 of your round, which is the first stitch. It counted as 1 stitch, so you're going to go on top of that chain and place your slip stitch. So you can see the chain 2 spaces are creating corners, and we have a total of 4 corners, which creates a square. So we're going to slip stitch into the next stitch, slip stitch into the next stitch, slip stitch into the chain 2 space. So now we've reached our first corner. We're going to chain 3 and place 2 more double crochets into the same chain 2 space. Then you're going to chain 2 and place 3 more double crochets. So here we place 2 double crochets because the chain 3 counts as a stitch. So far we have 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets, which in this tutorial I'll consider this to be a shell. A shell is 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets. Then you're going to chain 1 and then go into the next corner with a shell. Keep in mind a shell is 3 double crochets, chain 2 and 3 more double crochets. Like that. So you're going to chain 1, go into the next chain 2 space or the next corner with a shell. So each corner gets a shell. Like that. And then chain 1 and go into the last chain 2 space with 3 double crochets, chain 2 and 3 more double crochets, which counts as a shell. So keep in mind that the chain 2 spaces create the corners. Every corner gets a shell. Then you're going to chain 1 and slip stitch on top of the chain 3 at the beginning of our round. So just make sure you go into the top of the chain 3. And from here I'm going to chain 1 and cut my yarn because I'm going to do 2 rows of each color. So I'm going to pull through this, and now I'm going to get my second color, which is sky blue. I'm going to make a slip knot and I'm going to attach my sky blue into this space next to this tail. So remember that's a chain 1 space because it's not a corner. So you're going to chain 3 and place 2 more double crochets into that same exact space. So 2 more double crochets, so that counts as 3 double crochets. And now you're going to chain 1, go into the corner with a shell. So by now you know what a shell is. It's 3 double crochets, chain 2 and 3 more double crochets. Like that. And then you're going to chain 1 and go into the next chain 1 space with 3 double crochets. So as long as it's not a corner, it's always a chain 1. So chain 1 and go into the next corner with a shell. So just keep it in mind that whenever you do the 3 double crochets, you have to chain something after. So if it's not a corner, that's definitely a chain 1, something like this. So I'm done with my 3 double crochets, and since this is not a corner, I'll chain 1 and go into the chain 1 space with only 3 double crochets. All chain 1 spaces get only 3 double crochets. All chain 2 spaces are corners, that means they get shells. So chain 1, and this is a corner, so it gets a shell, which is 3 double crochets, chain 2 and 3 more double crochets, all in the same space. I hope I'm explaining it right. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comment section. And then I'll chain 1 and go into the chain 1 space and place 3 double crochets. Remember, all chain 1 spaces get only 3 double crochets. Chain 1 because it's not a corner, but now this is a corner, so it will get 3 double crochets. chain 2 and 3 more double crochets, which counts as a shell. Alright, so this is not a corner, so you'll chain 1 and slip stitch into the very first chain 3 that you made in the topmost chain. Then you're going to chain, now this is the next row, so you will slip stitch until you get to the chain 1 space. We want to move into the chain 1 space, so you slip stitch into each and every stitch until you get to the space, and then you're going to chain 3, which counts as a stitch, double crochet 2 more times into the same space, so that's a total of 3. Chain 1, this is a corner, so it gets a shell. After that, you're going to chain 1, go into the next chain 1 space with 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets into the next space, chain 1, this is a corner, so it gets a shell, chain 1, 3 double crochets into the next chain 1 space, chain 1, 3 double crochets into the next chain 1 space, chain 1, this is a corner, so it gets a shell. So let me speed through this, because by now you should be knowing what to do. So we are placing our last 3 double crochets into the last chain 1 space, like that, and you can see that corners are almost definite, like we can't mistake them to be anywhere else. So chain 1 and slip stitch on top of the first chain 3 of the round, and then you're going to chain 1 and cut your yarn. So we are done with round 4. So we are going to continue building our work. You're going to continue building onto your square until this length is quarter of your bust measurement. So for me, I use 32 as the reference figure. So I'm going to continue working until I have a total of 8 inches. That means I haven't yet gotten the measurement that I want. If you want it tight fitted, then you're going to continue working until you have 8 inches when stretched, so that even on your body it can stretch the same exact way. But I'm going to just continue working until I have my 8 inches because I want mine loose fitted. So once you realize how many rows that you need for your quarter of your bust measurement, for me that took me 9 rows to get to 8 inches. So you can see that 32 divided by 4 is 8, so I have exactly 8 inches. So this is the granny square. The very first granny square is going to determine how many rows that you need in order to get quarter of your bust measurement. So once you finish off this, you're going to chain 1. I've already chained 1 here, and you are going to cut your yarn, pull through, and leave that tail there. We shall deal with it later. So you're going to go ahead and make 3 more granny squares less by 1 row. So you can see this, I did 3 more granny squares, but these are 8 rows. They're only remaining with 1 row in order to become full like this one. But what I'm going to do is to work the final row while joining onto the granny square that was full. So you're going to get your boundary color. For me, that is the brown, because it's the one that I've used to work the final round of my round. So the next thing that I'm going to do is to reattach my yarn and work one side of the granny square, just like I did for this one when I was starting from here to the next corner. So I'm going to put this aside, and when I get to this corner, before I chain my 2 chains in between the 3 double crochet clusters, I'm going to chain 1, remove my hook, and grab one of the corners on this side. So I'll grab this one and then put that loop that you left behind onto the hook, pull through, and then you're going to chain 1 more, so it's more like a chain 2, and then go onto the next side, working 3 double crochets into the same space. But now we are starting to work on this other side, so continue to just go into each chain space with 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets. So have a look at what's going on. We have joined the first granny square to the next granny square, and this can either be the front side of your work or the back side. So we are going to go all the way around and finish up this round, and I'll meet you back when I'm done with that. So this row is helping us to go around the second granny square with our final row, with your final color, whatever color you've chosen to use. So when you get to the end of your row, you're going to chain 1 and place 3 more double crochets into the chain 2 space, and then you're going to chain 2 and slip stitch on top of the first chain 3 that you made, which counts as the first double crochet. After that slip stitch, you're going to chain 1 and cut your yarn. So this is how we have done the final row on the second granny square. So we are going to go ahead and repeat the same exact process until we have 4 granny squares in line. So these are 2. I'm going to do the same exact process for this one, just like I joined this one to this one. I'm going to join the same exact way, this one to this one, and then I'll also join this one to this one. So I'll come back when I have that ready. So when it comes to the last granny square, you can see we have 3 right now, and I've worked the first side of the last granny square since we have to have 4. So I've chained 1 and I'm going to join it to this one, to this corner here. I want them to be in one line. So if you're to notice, I always join at those points like that. So after joining here with your chain 1, you're going to go into that same space with 3 more double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets, chain 1. Continue to do that until the next corner, and this time it's going to change a bit. I had forgotten to mention that because this last granny square joins onto 2 granny squares so that we can start working our top in rounds, so that it can form a round shape that can go around your body. Actually, not the next corner, because the next corner is going to be up here. That means when we get to this corner, that's when something is going to change. You're not going to just pass by here. So I'll meet you back at this point. So we are at that corner that I had told you about. After your chain 1 here, you're going to go into the chain 2 space with 3 double crochets, chain 1, and then we are going to join this corner here onto this first corner on this side. So you're going to just turn your work around like this, and then make sure this is on the wrong side, because we are joining onto this side so that the right sides face the same direction. Chain 1, and then go all the way down to finish up your granny square. So you're going to continue to work this until you get to this corner, and then finish up your granny square as usual. So at this point, after joining all the 4 granny squares at those different points, you're going to have something that looks like this. So now we are going to start working on the pieces that are going to fill in these gaps, and since I want a crop top, these are going to be half granny squares. So you're going to get your first color. I'm going to put this away because this is literally done. So I'm going to put it away for now, and I'm going to start working the pieces that are going to fill in the gaps at the base of our top. So you're going to grab your first color, and for me I followed the same color combination. So I first did brown, then sky blue, brown, sky blue, then brown, and you can see 2 rows, 2 rows, 2 rows, 2 rows, and then 1 row of brown. So I'm going to follow the same exact flow. So I'm going to make a magic ring, and then you're going to make a chain of 5, and then you're going to go into the same magic ring with a total of 3 granny square, 3 double crochets, and then you're going to chain 2 and 3 more double crochets, and then you're going to chain 2, and then 1 double crochet. So it's chain 5, which counts as a double crochet, chain 2, and then 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets, chain 2, and then 1 double crochet. And then you're going to pull this tail and close off the round, the magic ring. And now I'm going to chain 5, turn my work, and into this space you're going to go in there with 3 double crochets, chain 1, and then in this chain 2 space, this is a corner, so it will get a total of 3 double crochets, chain 2 and 3 more double crochets into the same exact space. So remember, just as we did on the granny square, this is going to create a corner here, and then you're going to chain 1 and go into the last space there and place a total of 3 double crochets, chain 2 and then 1 last double crochet. That's how we end our rows for this half granny square. So after your last double crochet there, you're going to chain 1 and cut your yarn. So I told you I'm following the same exact pattern as the other granny squares. So 2 rows of brown are done, and that's how they look like. So I'm going to get my next color, which is blue. Sorry. And I'm going to make a slip knot and attach onto this stitch where we left off with the brown. So into that last stitch, I'm going to just attach my yarn there, and then chain 5. That's how we start our row. Go into the first chain 2 space with a total of 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets into the next chain 1 space. So you should notice all the chain 1 spaces get 3 double crochets, as long as it's on the side of the body of the granny square. So chain 1, this is a chain 2 and it's a corner, so it gets 3 double crochets, chain 2 and 3 more double crochets, chain 1. This is a chain 1, so you'll have 3 double crochets, chain 1. This is the last space, so I told you for the last space you put 3 double crochets, chain 2 and then 1 double crochet to finalize the row, because this is not worked in rounds. So after this, you're going to chain 5, which counts as a double crochet, chain 2, turn your work, 3 double crochets into the first chain 2 space, chain 1, into the chain 1 space you're going to go in there with 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets into the next chain 1 space, chain 1. This is our corner, so we place 3 double crochets, chain 2 and 3 more double crochets, chain 1, go into the next chain 1 space with 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets into the next chain 1 space, chain 1, and into the last space there you're going to go in there with a total of 3 double crochets, chain 2 and 1 last double crochet to finish up the row. Then you're going to chain 1 and cut your yarn, because now we have 2 rows of blue. So you can see the base of the half granny square is very flat, and that's what we want. After this, you're going to switch to your brown color again and do the same exact thing. So we're going to repeat this row until we have a total of 8 rows, because the final row is supposed to help us join onto the body of the top. So continue to do 2 rows of brown, 2 rows of blue, and then I'll meet you back on the final row of brown. or whatever colors that you chose to use. Don't forget to always start with a chain of 5 and then 3 double crochets into the first chain 2 space, and always end with 3 double crochets into the last space, chain 2, and 3 double crochets into the same exact last space. So now that we are done with our 8 rows, we have 2, 2, 2, 2. So we have 8 rows in total. So I'm going to grab my last color of yarn, which is the last row that's supposed to finalize here. So I'm going to attach it into the last stitch of the blue. Like that. And I'm going to chain 4. This time not 5, because I want to chain the 5th when I'm done with attaching onto the corner. So you're going to just decide which place you want to insert this half granny square. So this is going to fit into this space here, like that. So in order to do that, you're going to chain 4 and then attach it into this corner here. Attach and then chain the 5th, and then you're going to place 3 double crochets into the first chain 2 space. Then you're going to chain 1, remove your hook, go into the next space here, attach, and then 3 double crochets into the next chain space, like that. So chain 1, remove your hook, go into the next space here, attach, and then 3 double crochets into the next chain 1 space. Chain 1, remove hook, go into the next space, attach, and 3 double crochets into the next space. So we are going to just repeat that until we get to the corner. In order to attach, you just remove your hook and then pull that loop that you left behind through the chain 1 space on the other side. So I'm in the corner right now and I'm placing my 3 double crochets. So you can see how I've attached my my 2 granny squares. This is the 4 granny square, this is the half granny square. So you can see how that has played out nicely. So after this, after your 3 double crochets into the corner, you're going to chain 1 and then attach into the corner of this granny square, and then you're going to chain 1 and then remove your hook and attach into the corner of the second granny square, because now we are going to be attaching this half granny square onto the other side, and then you're going to chain 1. So place 3 more double crochets into the same space in order to create a corner on this granny square, on the half granny square. Then you're going to chain 1, remove your hook, go into the next space, attach, and 3 double crochets into the half granny square. So this remains the same, nothing changes, but I want to show you how that looks like for now. When I lay my work flat, you can see that the half granny square is fitting into the space that we had left behind. So it's just fitting in well. I think the tension, my tension was a little bit tight on the big granny squares, but that doesn't matter. I think it's working out perfectly fine. So I'm going to just continue to do this, attaching the half granny square onto the 4 granny squares. So I'm placing my last 3 double crochets into the last space of the half granny square, then chain 1, remove your hook, attach into the corner of the 4 granny square, then chain 1 more and place 1 last double crochet into the same space. Then you're going to chain 1 and cut your yarn. So let's see how this has turned out. If we put our work like this, you can see that the half granny square has just sat in that space, in the space that we had left behind. So that means this is the base of our work and this is the upper side of our work where the straps are going to be attached. So I'm going to go ahead and make another half granny square, attach it into this space here, the same exact way that I've done this, and then make another one, attach it here, and make one last one and attach it here in order to have a flat base for my top. So this has covered this. We need 3 more half granny squares in order to cover all these gaps, and then I'll meet you back to show you what to do next. So after filling in these gaps at the base, this is how your work is going to look like. It's going to be flat at the base, and then we have these 2 granny squares that are going to cover our bust area, then the 2 granny squares that are going to go to the back. And you can notice while I was working, I noticed that the final row on the half granny square adds up to the final row of the 4 granny square, which creates 2 rows of brown. So there's nothing that looks awkward. It's still a flow of 2 rows per color. So you're going to get your boundary color. For me, that's still brown, and make a slip knot. And now we are going to start working on our strap. So for the strap, I've done a slip knot here. I'm going to go into this space before the shell. This is a shell, so this space here, and I'm going to make a chain of 5. So I have my 5 chains there, and I'm going to go into the shell with a shell. So 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 more double crochets. So after that, I'm going to go into the next space here with a treble crochet. So I've yarned over twice. Insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, pull through 2, and pull through 2. So this is the only time that we are doing these long stitches. So from now on, we are going to chain 3, turn our work, place a shell into the chain 2 space from the previous row. So that's 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets, and then place a double crochet into this space, chain 3, and repeat that. Repeat the same exact process until you get the length of the strap that you want. I'm going to go on making this until I get the strap that I want for my top. I'll let you know how many rows that I did. So if I'm to lay down my work like this, you'll notice that now we've started working on the strap of our top like that. So I'll let you know how many rows that I did for my strap, and this will vary depending on different body types. So I decided to do a total of 15 rows for my strap, but I did a total of 14 so that I can show you how to finish up the 15th while joining it to this corner on the other side of your work. So we are joining the 2 corners together using a strap. So just like I did here, I worked on this one first to test and see how it will come out. So we want this strap here to join onto that corner there. So after my 14th row, I'm going to chain 5, 1 2 3 4 5, and you're going to make sure your strap is not twisted. So for me, I have to join this corner onto this side. So pull through that loop and prepare for a double crochet and make a total of 3 double crochets, chain 1, remove your hook and join it into the chain 2 space of the shell on the opposite side, chain 1 more, so that's a total of 2 chains, and then place 3 more double crochets into the same chain 2 space, and then remove your hook, attach into this next space after the shell, pull through and prepare for a treble crochet and go into the last space with your treble crochet, and then you're going to chain 1 and cut your yarn. So that's how I worked my strap. You're going to go ahead and do the same exact thing for the other side because you are working on your first strap. So make sure the straps are the same length and make sure you just get the perfect fit for you for your top. If you want them longer, go ahead and make more rows for the strap. If you want them shorter, you can reduce the length of the strap by reducing on the number of rows that you do for the strap. So we are now going to that lower part. You can see all this mess. Don't worry about it, we shall get rid of that. This is because there was too much cutting and breaking of yarn while switching colors when it came to the half granny squares. So you're going to sit down and first get rid of all these strands. If it means tying, if it means weaving in with your darning needle, do that, and then we shall come back when we have a clean edge or a clean surface to work with. Then we shall continue with the downer part of our project. After getting rid of all the loose ends, you'll have something that looks like this. It's not as messy as it was before. So you're going to get your main yarn, which is brown. It's going to make the first row at the base of our top. Make a slip knot, turn your work around like this. You're going to just attach your yarn in any spot. So we're going to be working into the rows. So the rows are these ones, into the different rows. So you're going to attach your yarn into any row of your choice. And then you're going to chain 3, double crochet 2 more times into the same row. So we want to keep the flow of the granny square look. Yeah. So the clusters are still going to surface. So this counts as 3 double crochets. And then you're going to chain 1, go into the next row with 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 more double crochets. So we are creating the ruffle part of the top. So chain 1, 3 double crochets into the next row, chain 1, and then a shell into the next row. So the shell is 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 more double crochets. So you can see the ruffle has started forming. So chain 1, and into the next row you only place 3 double crochets. Chain 1, into the next row you're going to make a shell. 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 more double crochets. So we are going to repeat this all the way around until we get back to this point where we started from. Let me go ahead and do that. I'll meet you back at the end of my round. So I'm coming to the end of my round, and this wasn't an increase, so in the last shell I'll chain 1 and place a shell. In the last row, sorry, I'll place a shell because I started my round with only 3 double crochets in the very first row. So that means I have to end with a shell in the last row. So after this, you're going to chain 1 and slip stitch into the first stitch that you made for your round. So this is how your top will look like. The ruffles have already formed. That's how it looks like. So you're going to continue to work on the ruffle part. I'll take you through the first row. You're going to slip stitch until you get to a chain 1 space. So slip stitch into the next stitch, slip stitch into the next stitch, and then slip stitch into the space, the chain 1 space, chain 3, and place 2 more double crochets to make a total of 3 double crochets here. Chain 1, go into the next chain 2 space, and this time we are only placing a total of 3 double crochets. We are no longer increasing. After that, you're going to chain 1 and go into the next space and place 3 double crochets. Chain 1, go into the next space with 3 double crochets. Chain 1, 3 double crochets into the next space. So it doesn't matter whether it's a chain 1 or a chain 2 space, you're just going to go in there with only 3 double crochets all the way around, and you're going to repeat this row until the length that you want for your ruffles. And I'll meet you back at that point. I'll let you know how many rows that I did for mine. So I decided to do only 2 rows for the sake of the tutorial. This was going to take me forever to finish because the round is too long. So you're going to get 2 strands of your yarn. Remember, we use fingering weight yarn. We're going to use 2 strands, and then we make a simple chain of about 250 chains, or 220, in between there, 220 to 250. And now you're going to thread this strand of the chain into the darning needle. And now I want these strands, this strand here, to come out from the front so that we are able to tie and cinch in this part here. So I'm going to start from the exact middle of the center of the front part. Sorry, the exact middle of the front part. So I'm going to go into those rows where I worked my first round of the bottom ruffles. I'm just going to go in and out of each and every row. I hope you're seeing what I'm doing. And then you're going to pull, leave this tail behind here, and we are going to continue to go all the way around the top, going in and out of every row of the granny squares, actually, because at this point we were still working the granny squares. So let's do this. This is the easiest part. This is when you're coming to the end of your project and you're very happy about the outcome. You just can't wait to see the final product. So later on, maybe I'll find time to push the top a bit lower, but I also love the cropped version. So it will depend. If at all I get an order for it and the person wants it a little bit longer, then I'll have to push the ruffles to the base a bit longer than what it is right now, to the client's preferred length. Okay, so we are back to the front, and you're just going to give it a tug so that it's not so, or you're going to just slide the ruffles so that they are evenly distributed, because at the back the ruffles are so many. So you're just going to evenly distribute them so that we don't have any space with so many of them. And when you come here, you can attach some beads at the end here, or tassels. Then at this point you can tie at the front of your top. This helps us to hold the lower bust, the lower part of our bust, so that it's not so big. If you want a loose fitting, then this may be optional for you. You may not even do this, you just leave it hanging, but I thought the string would do us justice. So I think the next thing that we're going to do is to work on the edging. I'm not very sure about such an edging, so I'm going to work on it to make it a little bit more beautiful. So you're going to grab your edging color, which is brown. I know we are using a lot of it, but it's the color that I decided would be the main color. So you're going to decide what color you want for your top. Make a slip knot, and then you're going to attach your yarn at any point. Let me demonstrate with the outer side of the top. So you're going to go into this corner here, like that, attach your yarn, and you're going to chain 3, place 2 more double crochets into the same corner. Sorry, 3 more double crochets, not 2, 3 double crochets like that, and then single crochet into the next space, and then you're going to chain 3 double crochets into the same exact space, like that, and then single crochet into the next chain 1 space. So this is going to give us those scallops that look really nice on our top, instead of having the granny square edging. So we're going to repeat that all the way up onto the strap. So go all the way up onto the strap. Okay, so when you get here, I'll show you what to do. Make sure you're working on the right side of your work, because these scallops have to face the right side of your work. So when you get here, we've worked all the way from down here all the way up, and when you get here, you're going to chain 3 and still place 3 double crochets into the same space, and then single crochet into the next row, then chain 3 double crochets into the same row, single crochet into the next row, and repeat that all the way up. So you're going to just go all around the armhole until you make it back to that point where we started the edging. So this is how your work will look like. We're almost coming to the end of our round, so I'm chaining 3 and placing 3 double crochets into the last space, and then I'm going to single crochet into the next space and make a slip stitch into that next space where the first scallop comes out of, and then you're going to chain 1 and cut your yarn. So at this point we are done with the edging of the first armhole. So let me show you how that looks like. I'm just tying a knot so that I get rid of the loose strand. Okay, so when I lay my work flat, you can see the effect that it has created. This is way better than having it open like this. Anyway, it's up to you. You decide what you do for your top, but I feel like this is more finished, and I'm going to go ahead and work on this inner side as well as the armhole opening on the other side. So finally I'm done with the edging of the top, and this is how the sleeves came out. This is how the edging looks like. It looks well finished. It has a final touch at least, and this is better than what it was before. And this is the front side, the side with this string. You can decide whether this string is to be tied either at the front or the back. Then this is the back side. Both sides are going to look exactly the same, unless if you did you made a mistake somewhere, but both sides are supposed to look the same. And this is how simple and easy this top is. I hope you enjoyed making this tutorial with me, and I will see you in my next video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel if this is content that you love, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.